All right. This lesson is called The Zeros of a Quadratic Relation. This zero's going nuts here. There he goes. All right. Shh. Shh. That's all I can do when I'm on video. I can't say the other thing. Here, people on the video won't know. No, I said. What? I did not say that. I said shh. Very good fill in the blanks lesson today. But you got to look at the screen. I noticed yesterday some people weren't looking at the screen to see if they were missing anything. It's fill in the blanks, if that wasn't clear. Yeah? So take a look to see what you have to fill in. A little review of parabola terminology. Just in case you missed a lesson and didn't watch the video or something like that, here's a little review of what we've been talking about. The graph of a quadratic relation is called what's the shape of these things? What do they look like? It looks like a U. Yes, that's right. But the fancy word is parabola. Do you know why I make you fill that in? It helps to learn to write that. Do you need the whole sentence? No, maybe not. Maybe writing the whole sentence maybe doesn't help you remember that one word that I need. Parabola. Parabola. Not pronounced parabola. Yeah, parabola. I know. Looks like parabola. There it is. You got one on your screen. A parabola. The highest or lowest point of the vertex. Totally gave it away. It's the vertex. Yeah, it's the vertex. Do this. Don't scramble to do yesterday's. I know. I'm happy to see some of you scrambling to do yesterday's. I get it. My speech hit home. Good. But we got to do today's. Then if you really want to impress me, come back with some of yesterday's. And some of today's done. That'll be good progress. Some will be good. All is where we're aiming for. Yes? Yeah, but some would be a good start. Parabolas can either open. Which way is this one opening on the screen? Up. So they can open up or down. And you don't need the whole word there. You could write up or down. You don't have to write upward or downward there. Yes. Coming right up. He's a step ahead of me. If a parabola opens upward, then when it's upward, this point has another name. The lowest point, what do we call the lowest? Could call it lowest. Minimum. If it has a lowest point, we call that a minimum value. Have you heard the word minimum before? Yes. Minimum, not quite so common a word, minimum. Yeah, well, not as common as the other one. The other one's a little more common because you see it all the time. If it opens downward, let me draw a downward one on here. Maybe you'd like to draw a downward parabola on your graph here. Sorry, PowerPoint is a little awkward. See, this parabola opens downward. It doesn't have a minimum. What does this one have? Maximum. I named my son Max, and some people say to me, Mr. Todd, did you name your kid after a math word? And the answer is, I don't think so. I wasn't thinking that when I did it, but maybe, I don't know. I'll have to ask my other kids, parabola and algebra. No, my kids aren't named parabola. Wouldn't that be awesome, though? Parabola's a good name for a kid. Little parabola Todd? Yeah. Okay, this is one. All right. This one's supposed to be the easiest question on the page. You ready? I'll try and phrase it just right. The points where a parabola intercepts the x-axis are called intercepts the x-axis. X-intercepts, not y-intercepts. I know we talked a lot about x-intercepts. But they're also called something else. They're called the zeros. Because that's where the graph becomes zero. For instance, if this was my bank account, and my bank account often does this, it goes down to 0, then goes negative, then comes back up to 0. Yeah, right. People like me, parents, sometimes our account goes negative. They trust me. My paycheck shows up every week. They know I'm good for it. So
Every week?
every 2 weeks. You're right. Yep. My paycheck shows up every 2 weeks, and I'm a teacher, so they're like, he's not going to disappear. So when I go negative, they're like, that's okay. They charge me a little interest, but that's okay. If you think that's not true, it is. I still go negative once in a while when things get out of hand. You know? Happened yesterday. Get a mad text message from one of my kids. Daddy, I need $60 for this and $40. Yeah. This is why you need a good job. You want to have kids. Any questions so far on my review of parabolas? It's good? In this lesson, we'll be concentrating on the x-intercepts, really focusing on those x-intercepts. How many x-intercepts can a parabola have? It could have 2. There's a parabola with 2 x-intercepts. Do you have the picture there? Take a second to prove to yourself there's 2 and actually get your pen out. And again, I got to do this to get my pen out. Me too. Stop yawning in my lessons. Next time I'm going to throw this pen right in your yaw there. Whoop! Actually. Yeah, right, yeah. So put those dots on there to help you understand why there's 2. Put those dots at the spots where it hits 0. It could have 2. Yeah, good. I got to go back to, that's why I want the controller, so I don't have to keep going back and forth here. This one only has 1 0. So a parabola could have 1 0. And put it on there, right there, with a big dot to go there. That particular one had 1 0. But there's a third choice. Maybe you already see it on your screen or on your paper, on my screen. There's a third choice of how many zeros we could have. How many zeros does this one have? None. So let's not be surprised by that when it happens. Shh. Gentlemen. Let's not be surprised when this happens. When I'm doing questions in a minute, some will have 2 answers, some will have 1, and some will have 0. Let's not be surprised with that. We can get that many answers. Why do you think x-intercepts are often referred to as zeros? Well, I think I tried to explain that. The reason is there are points on the graph where the y value is 0. Can you see the 0 there with the little tag here? I don't know why that tag's on my screen there, but question? Yeah. Any questions thus far? I don't know why I like saying thus, but I try and get it in every lesson. While you're copying, I'm still looking for that controller. I love having the controller. I know, I had it yesterday. I checked all the drawers. Maybe Mr. Jasjorski put it somewhere. No, that's not it. It's just.
Is that like an activation key? Yeah, just rate all of his drawers.
No, I'll live without it. I'm not going to stress about it anymore. I'm going to focus. Do you need more time there?
Yeah.
Well, you focus. You focus. Don't get distracted by me looking for my controller. Mr. Todd, you have control issues. Is it good? We're okay? All right. Here we go. We just noted that the x-intercepts are points on the graph where the y value is 0. Can you take a moment and put a big star beside that?
No.
No, you can't? Say no, you can't?
I can't even hear you.
Oh. Pointer options, ink color. I got to go yellow. It doesn't matter what color. Beside that sentence, put a big star. That's the sentence of the lesson. That's the most important sentence of the lesson. X-intercepts are where the y value is 0. This idea gives us a method to find x-intercepts from the equation. To do it, let's take a look at this situation. Whoa, oh, look, I gave it away. Does yours say set y equal to 0? That gets a yellow star too. That is our algebraic move of the day. If we want the zeros, set y equals 0. That's what we do. And once you set y equal to 0, you'll have an equation to solve. Will the equation be easy? Sometimes. Shh. Gentlemen, will the equation be easy? Sometimes. Sometimes. 0 equals x minus 5. Reasonably easy to solve that. Solve for x. X equals 5. Just bring the 5 over to the other side. Maybe you want some different steps here. Maybe some people would write that differently. I don't want you to just get stuck with how I wrote it. Maybe you'd do this. You'd bring this 5 over and you'd go, oh, 5 equals x. Maybe that's the way you'd write it. Other people might do it this way. They might go, oh, bring the x over here and then divide it by -1. Or maybe somebody just look at it and go, they could just look at it and go, if x minus 5 is 0, x has got to be 5. So there's several choices there on how to deal with this. They're not quite as hard equations as the ones we did last chapter. Let's see what it looks like on a graph. Yeah. Yeah. Please put a dot on here so you can see where that x-intercept was. Was there a question? Iowa, do you have a question? No. And it's a good question, Iowa. I only showed the graph so you could see what was going on. We're going to want to work with this algebra. And one of the reasons we want to work with the algebra is if the numbers are big or if they're decimals, we're not going to want to graph them. So this one with a 5 there, somebody who likes graphing might go, can I just graph it to get the answers? And the answer is yes, but what if the number's really big? Then it's going to be more difficult. So we'll try to do the algebra because it's more powerful. Okay, we'll try to do the algebra. It's a good question. Do you have other questions? A couple of things to remember. X-intercepts and zeros are the same thing. Same exact thing. To find x-intercepts, set y equal to 0 and solve for x. Does the same method work for quadratics and parabolas? And the answer is yes. The equations are a little tiny bit harder. I got to show you one thing. This is the thing I'm going to teach you today, is how to solve a quadratic for zeros. Don't forget, though, a parabola might have more than one zero. We might get more than one answer here. And there's 3 forms of the quadratic relationship, and each one of those might be a little bit more difficult. Factored form will be the easiest one. If we can be in factored form, we'll be very happy. Oh, was that all there for you already? No, you got to go back? I feel like it was mostly there. That's what I remember from. Yeah, you need the last little thing there. Factored form is the easiest. Is that going to come back to haunt you? And the answer is unfortunately yes. I'm going to give you a lot in factored form today, and you're going to think that's pretty nice, hopefully. But then when I don't give them to you in factored form, you're going to be stressed. So that's not today, though. So let's just leave that in the shelf and we'll worry about that next day. Here's the problem, though, for you non-homework doers out there. If you can't do these ones, you're going to have real trouble with the next level. So you really got to lock in and try to do a bunch of these tonight so you know what you're doing. I think I included the answers tonight. Am I right? If you look at the back there, the answers are there so you can check your answers. Because it's really important you know how to do these. Yeah, they're there so you can check it out and make sure you're doing them right. Now, if you just copy the answers out so that it looks like you did your homework, I'll be able to tell. Don't worry, I'll be able to tell. I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. Yeah, you know, good. Let's start with an easy one. Find the x-intercepts of y equals x minus 7 squared. So, first step, set y to 0. Let me write that down. The PowerPoint doesn't write that down. I want to get that down. Set y equals 0. That's our important move. I'm even going to put it in a fancy box. That's our move to find x-intercepts. We actually make the y value 0. And in most cases, that makes the question pretty easy. We just look and go, okay, this is just a thinking question. I want you to think, what number would x have to be so that when I subtracted 7 from it and then squared it, I'd get answer 0? It's actually pretty easy if you think about it for just a second. What number do you subtract 7 and end up with 0? Seven. Okay. How much of that do you have to cover down? Just the bottom part. Oh, I did it just right. It's filling the gaps just the way I wanted. Look at the right side of the equation. What number will make the right side 0? 7 is the number. The opposite, this was subtract 7, I want positive 7. That'll happen a lot today, where we just go, oh, I just need the opposite number. That's all. As long as you know what you're looking for, you're okay. X equals 7. This parabola only has 1 0. Sometimes you'll get 1. Sometimes you'll get 2. Sometimes you'll get none. Here's the picture of it. Here's the parabola. Isla says, do I have to graph it? And the answer is no. I just showed the graph. So you go, oh, I see. A parabola could have just x-intercept 7. That's fine. Any questions about that? So I'm just keeping an eye on the clock here. So I'm going to get my sheets here so I know what sheet I'm on. So that's what I think is a fairly easy one. Okay? So here we go, a little tougher. The next one's a little bit tougher. Yep, thank you. I should have asked before I went, but there it is. Who asked me to go back? Is it good now? You're good now? Okay, a little tougher. So, folks, if you are only going to pay attention, like really pay attention, or really lock in for 3 minutes, this is the 3 minutes. Okay? This 3 minutes decides whether you can do these or not. Find the zeros. The first step to finding zeros is to make y equal 0. I'm going to write that in there. I think you should write it in there because that's the step you might be asking me about later. It's like, oh, what do I do first here? If I want the zeros, I set y equal to 0. I want to know what's it going to take to make y equal 0. Well, you did good of locking in there. Thank you for doing that. I said, if you're only going to pay attention for 3 minutes, now's the time. And it seemed like everybody locked in a little bit and said, okay, let me just check this out for a second. Now, it turns out there's 2 different numbers this time that could make this equation come out to 0. What number will make the first bracket equal to 0? What number do I subtract 3 and get 0? Positive 3. That's what makes the first bracket 0. But there's another bracket. What number will make this negative 2? You're like, I just do the opposites? Yes. It's that simple. It's not easy. We came a long way to get here, but it's actually pretty simple. What values will make the right side of the equation work out to 0? Either of the two brackets can work out to 0. And so x equals 3 in the first bracket, x equals negative 2 in the second bracket. The PowerPoint does a lot of talking there for you to look back at when you're doing your homework to explain why that is. But in the end, all you need is the opposite number in each of those brackets for these ones. Do I have a slightly tougher one coming? Yes, but many of the questions are just this easy. You set y to 0, and then you look at it, and you go, what are the opposite numbers here that make each of these brackets equal to 0? How could I make it tougher? Well, you'll see in just a minute. For now, these ones, pretty straightforward once you see them. Okay? But do you have any questions about that? That's the a little tougher example. Then a serious example. That is, I'll jump ahead now. Lots of math lessons are like that. If you're thinking of being a teacher later, lots of math lessons are like that. We do one that's not too bad, then we jump ahead to a really tough one. Then we back off a little bit and do a couple of medium ones. That's what's coming next. The toughest example of the day coming up next. But do you need more time here? Yes, more time?
Yes.
A lot of those sentences are there, right? Am I right? But you got a little bit to copy down at the bottom. Welcome back. Do you need more time? Okay, get ready. Here comes the tough one. Oh, sorry. Here's the picture. Did you already have the picture? Yes, I already gave the picture. See, this one had 2 zeros. And that's okay with a quadratic, that it has 2 zeros this time. Okay, the serious one. We'll go back. It never bothers me to go back. It tells me you're paying attention and trying to copy it down. That will never bother me. Oh, yeah, well, you tell me when. Oh, we're just about out of time, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that would be something. If we don't make it through the lesson, I'll stop the video and we'll finish tomorrow. All right. I'll try and wrap it up soon. I heard my name again. Because we're looking for what makes this bracket equal to 0. So if this bracket's x minus 3, we need positive 3 as x for it to come out to be 0. So we're looking for the opposite number. For instance, if I put x equals 3 in here, what's 3 minus 3? So that's the number I'm looking for. I'm looking for the number that makes this thing equal to 0.
Oh, so it's like the opposite side?
Yeah. And the other graphic has x plus 2. So to make it 0, I need negative 2. Good? Yeah. Good question. Okay, this is a tough example. But what's the first step? If I want to find the zeros.
Make y zeros.
Okay, good. Write it down. The PowerPoint doesn't do that, but you really should. Set y equals 0. Okay. This one's way harder than the previous one. I'd be surprised if too many people, there might be a couple people, can just look at that and now figure out the number. 2x minus 3. See, 3's not going to do it anymore. Just changing the sign is not going to do it. Because if I put 3 in here, 2 times 3 is 6 minus 3. That's not 0. Okay? So there's easy ones, like the last one. He says 1.5. I think he's right. But for most people, that's a tough way to do it. So let me show you the steps you'll go through to normally do it. You break it into 2 equations, like this. You say, okay, 2x plus 3 could be equal to 0, or sorry, 2x minus 3 could be 0, or 5x plus 6 could be equal to 0. And if you can do them in your head, well, good for you. That's really surprising that you can do them in your head. Most people just need a couple of lines of algebra to figure this out. They need to move the number over. Remember, we've been doing that a lot. That went better on the test. That made me smile. When people just had to move things over and solve for them, things were much better. If I showed you your first test now and showed you how much we've improved, you'd be surprised. Yeah? This is coming along. So, then divide by the 2. So 2 extra steps here. But I got to do it with the other one too. Bring the negative 6 over and divide by the 5. Is that a lot harder? I think it is a lot harder. It's a lot more work compared to the previous one. So if you find that difficult, yeah, those are difficult. No question about it.
Oh, wait, do I have to find anything else after that?
That's it. That's it. Let me show you the graph. There's a 0 at 1.5, and then over here at negative 6/5, which is negative 1.2 or something like that. Yeah. The electric sharpener is absolutely terrible. I was really excited when I bought it, but as it turns out, it's a giant piece of junk. Yeah. And this pencil sharpener on the board or on the wall is so old that it's not bad? Yeah. Any questions there? I don't know. Anyone still need more time there? Question? Yeah.
My arm's so bent like that.
You're up, Cameron. You got 5 minutes. You're up, Cameron.
Good? All right. One more. What's up? Okay. What's the first step of these things when I want to find the zeros? Set y equals 0. At least get that much done. Set y equals 0. And I put a little colon there. There it is. To me, this one's as tough as the last one. Break it into 2 equations. If you have any doubts at all, unless it's just super easy to look at, break it into 2 equations. Either 4x has to be 0 or 2x minus 1 has to be 0. Many of you have become very proficient, very good at solving those little equations. If not, here's one more practice at them. What's the opposite of multiplying by 4? Divide by 4. Yeah, see, that's going better. We've made progress. This is why I'm overall happy. Earlier I was like, I'm not getting mad at anybody. I'm just telling them what has to happen next in life. I'm happy with the way things are going. We're able to solve those, many people. What's the opposite of subtracting 1? Plus 1. And then the opposite of multiplying by 2? Divide by 2. So those steps have been starting to come easier for people. So we've come a long way in a short period of time. So this one has 2 zeros, 0 and 1/2. Here's the parabola. Hard to see the 0 and the 1/2, but I just wanted to show you what that looks like on the parabola. 9 minutes. I don't think there's any copying on the next page. Are you okay? Small detail that I just want to mention about these situations. When we're finding the x-intercepts for quadratics, we've been solving quadratic equations. That's the fancy name for what we're doing. We're solving quadratic equations. Sounds fancy, right? Actually, if you want, you can use this homework to get out of chores tonight. If a parent says to you, hey, please come empty the dishwasher, you can say, sorry, I'm solving quadratic equations here. See, it sounds fancy. I guarantee you'll get out of homework if you say that to your parents. I'm doing my solving quadratic equations homework. Woo! Who asked me to go back? You're good? No? I don't think you have any copying here, right? There's a quadratic equation. There's the quadratic function. Once we're doing a quadratic function, we get it down to one variable, and we look for roots, not zeros, they're called. No, they're the same thing, just has a different name. Roots instead of zeros. Okay? Looks pretty much the same. Looks pretty much the same. I'm not trying to get sidetracked here. I'm not trying to get technical here. I just want to mention the technical stuff. We got 7 minutes to do the last slide. I'll decide when I see the slide whether we're going to finish or not. Depends on the examples. I don't know. If they're tough, we might not be able to do them. Go back. Yeah? It's good? Okay. This is easy. What x values can make this equation 0? What x value makes this bracket 0? 6. What about this one? -1. That's it. This -5 doesn't affect what's going on here. The -5 can't be 0. X's can make things 0, but -5s can't make things 0. So I've still only got these two things to deal with. How about this one? Would you say this is an easy one or a more difficult one? Why is this one more difficult? Do you see that 9 there? That 9 messes things up. And then that's when you have to go to the separate ones. That's pretty good for me. Oh. Would you laugh if I actually fell on the floor?
Yeah, we're sorry, but yeah.
That's when you know we're getting along well. If you're willing to laugh at me, we're getting along well. Oh! Get out the way, he says. It's usually these guys that yell. Oh, because usually I'm over there, aren't I? Why am I over here this time? Oh, because I'm usually writing. I'm writing less. I was like, I like it better when you're over there. Because you stink. Yeah, I know. Do you have any questions about that? I think that's the last one. We made it somehow. Even with shortened periods, my crazy speech. Tomorrow, I'd like to check both homeworks. I'd like to see you. I got to pretend I'm mad to get your. No. I'm focused. I'm focused. Yeah? I want to see both homeworks and get some done on each homework. Some. Show me some. Not none. And if you, quote, forget, don't even say that out loud to me. I don't want to hear I forget anymore. Just shake your head. We is done. If you didn't get that last slide, I'm going to bring that last slide up on the screen as I end the video. So if you're madly copying the last one, that's okay.